To Linda Thompson, he was simply the man she loved and lived with for 5 years of her life.
Did you have any special difficulty in dating Elvis? How did it affect you?
Not really, no. Maybe because of my youth or whatever. I'm a very adaptable person, and it just sort of seemed very right and very natural. When you love someone, they suddenly, it wasn't Elvis on the marquee anymore. It was Elvis with a little E. It was just a human soul that I happened to love.
What were dates with Elvis like?
Dates with Elvis consisted of riding golf carts around Graceland, or riding motorcycles or three-wheelers, or going to movies that he had rented out. He would rent an entire theater out and show movies all night. And he enjoyed going roller skating occasionally. He would rent the fairgrounds out and ride the roller coaster 15 times in a row, that sort of thing.
But he would never, ever go anywhere in disguise or try to go...
No,
Yeah.
incognito.
Yeah.
Because he had his own walk, he had his own stance. There was no way that he could really disguise who he was.
Something wrong with my lip. Elvis, he sure knew his way around the ladies, didn't he? Now, most people know of his marriage to Priscilla, of course. But did you know he dated one of the HEE-HAW girls? You didn't know that? Well, now you do. From 1972 to 1977, Linda Thompson lived with the King. Even though they had broken up, she remained good friends with Elvis and was really one of the last really good influences in his life. Another fun fact is her older brother Sam was one of the Memphis Mafia. Yep, Sam, that guy right there, was one of Elvis's bodyguards. And man, he's had some wild stories he told over the years. So think about it. Both brother and sister got some of that Elvis body.
The King. There is little that has not been said about Elvis Presley. Some of it has been fact, much of it fiction. Yet to be sure, to women around the world, he was the unattainable goal. To Linda Thompson, he was simply the man she loved and lived with for 5 years of her life.
Did you have any special difficulty in dating Elvis? How did it affect you?
Not really, no. Maybe because of my youth or whatever. I'm a very adaptable person, and it just sort of seemed very right and very natural. When you love someone, they suddenly, it wasn't Elvis on the marquee anymore. It was Elvis with a little E. It was just a human soul that I happened to love.
What were dates with Elvis like?
Dates with Elvis consisted of riding golf carts around Graceland, or riding motorcycles or three-wheelers, or going to movies that he had rented out. He would rent an entire theater out and show movies all night. And he enjoyed going roller skating occasionally. He would rent the fairgrounds out and ride the roller coaster 15 times in a row, that sort of thing.
But he would never, ever go anywhere in disguise or try to go...
No, incognito.
Yeah.
Because he had his own walk, he had his own stance. There was no way that he could really disguise who he was. Not effectively. We tried going out a few times shopping, and we would make it halfway between the car and the door of the store. And, people would just be all over us. They would converge immediately, and we would have to run back to the car. So it was very difficult for him to get out like a normal person.
When do you think Elvis felt the need to be so generous?
It almost got to be second nature with him. It was just a facet of his character, like drinking a lot of water or whatever. That was just part of his nature. And it was really astounding if you just sat back and pondered for a few moments about the extent of his generosity. It was incredible. And it began, he told me the story, and I think it's really a sweet little story. When he was 9 years old, he said that he got saved in the Christian sense. And they were very, very poor in Tupelo, Mississippi, Elvis's family. He said he was dirt poor. And he suddenly was just filled with this wonderful spirit. And all he had in the world were comic books. So he took all of his comic books and he ran out into the street and he started giving his comic books away to all his little neighbors. And I thought, what a really sweet story, because that generosity never stopped. That spirit of giving stayed with him throughout his life.
What kinds of things bothered him? What kind of things did he like to talk to you about?
I think probably the thing that bothered him most was that he was an intensely lonely person at heart. He felt that, he was so alone in his fame and in his thoughts, as we all are. I often said to him, gosh, you possess so much love. So many people love you in so many different ways. And he said, but you don't understand, it's not a personal love. They don't know me. They don't know what goes inside, what goes on inside me, you know, what my thoughts are, what my feelings are, what my background is. You know, they know what they've read and they love me and I appreciate that love, but they don't love me in a personal way. So it was important to him to have people around that he felt did love him in a personal way.
One such person was T.G. Shepard.
T.G., you introduced Linda Thompson to Elvis, and they lived together for 5 years. Tell me a little bit about their relationship.
He thought a lot of her, first of all. She's a real wiry type person who's always very up, and I think she, at times when he was probably down, she could come across with something very funny because she is that type of person. I think she played a very major role in his life. I think at a time when he may have needed someone to talk with and to spend some time with, Linda was there. I think a lot of Linda.
How do you think you felt about her going into show business?
I don't really know. It's just something I never even... I wasn't aware of the fact that she was really getting into it that heavy until recently. I'm sure she had ideas back then that she might have discussed with him, but as far as his viewpoints on it, I really don't know.
I don't think he was terribly happy about it, but nor was he totally against it. I think he felt a little threatened by it.
Now, for the time, she wore some pretty risque clothing on HEE-HAW. As you can see, she liked to expose her assets, which on HEE-HAW was very risque. But think about the time, 1970s, country HEE-HAW, mini Pearl eras. So, for now, it's nothing. But back then, it was like, wow, is she really wearing that on network TV?
Did he do anything to help you?
No, nor to hinder me. Just he sort of said, whatever you want, if that's what you really feel that you'd like to fulfill you, then that's fine. And I think that he really was sort of proud because he would say to his friends, he would say, this is my girlfriend Linda Thompson. She was a former Miss Tennessee, and she's just appeared on Starsky and Hutch. You'll have to watch her. And, you know, so I think inwardly he was a little proud, but I think that he did feel a little threatened by it.
What was driving Elvis? Was he always trying to be the king?
He never tried. It just happened. He had no idea that he was as sexy as he was on stage. He was brought up in a Pentecostal church. Emotions are bare and raw, you know, in the South even, but particularly in the Pentecostal religion. They're not afraid to display their emotional content, and they certainly do during services. And he was brought up in that sort of atmosphere. So he was used to moving when he was singing, and that was just a very natural thing for him to do, and he had no idea that it turned a lot of people on and turned a lot of people off.
What got to him at the end? Was it his frustrations or what?
I think, yes, he was frustrated in the sense that he had done everything that he could do at that point in his career, and he wanted to progress, he wanted to go on, he wanted to tour Europe, he wanted to make a very legitimate, decent film that would provide him with the proper vehicle to display his acting ability. He could have been a terrific actor, and he was frustrated in that respect, I think.
In show business and in the recording industry, many people move out to the West Coast, out to Los Angeles, but Elvis never did that. He always kept his roots here and kept his home in Memphis. Why do you think he did that?
I think it makes a very positive statement about Elvis's character that he did choose to maintain his home in Memphis, because those were his roots, that's where his family was. And the South has its own sort of culture, its own lifestyle, and a slower, easier pace, and the people here are more salt of the earth people, you know, more normal people. And I think that he tried to maintain some sort of semblance of normality in his life, and that was his way, one of the ways in which he tried to do that. So I think that does make a very positive statement about him, that he didn't get caught up in the Hollywood life, and he wasn't Hollywood.
Knowing Elvis as well as you did, how do you think he would like for people to remember him?
Jeez. Well, I can say how I would like for people to remember him. I think I would like for people to remember that he was a humanitarian, that he contributed greatly to this world, musically and as a humanitarian.
We'll be back in just a minute.
Linda would go on to marry Bruce Jenner. They were together from 81 to 86, and they had 2 sons together. Kind of interesting to see Bruce Jenner on HEE-HAW. It's even funnier now thinking about it because his HEE-HAW went Bye-bye.